come here. I want to share with you guys a big secret. Homeschooling secrets, to be more specific, on how to keep distractions minimal in your homeschool. So come on, let's get started. Hi, my name is Katie and welcome to Life in the Mundane. I am a second generation homeschool mom of 6 beautiful kiddos, and on this channel we talk all things resources. I love to share with you resources that are going to help you in your homeschooling and help encourage you in your biblical parenting, and how you can utilize those to their fullest potential so that you can make the most of the little moments. This collaboration is hosted by Rachel from 7 and All, and she had the amazing idea to have homeschool moms come together and share their best homeschool secrets. And today we're going to focus all about those secrets that are going to help you reduce the distractions in your home. If we want to reduce distractions, we need to factor in what are our distractions. I typically find there are 2 types of major distractions when it comes to homeschooling. Those distractions that come from outside of the home and those distractions that are happening inside your home. So first, let's take a look at what's coming from outside of your home. One of the biggest outside distractions that I have found in my home is outside commitments. Those things that pull us away from home and from our school. Maybe it's things like doctor's appointments, maybe it's sports, activities, play dates with friends, maybe it's participating in a Bible study or getting together in a co-op. Those kinds of things can all be amazing things and much, much needed. But we need to be strategic in how we insert those things into our day so that we can reap the benefits of those things without making our school suffer for it. So how do we combat that? Well, the first thing I would suggest is to set actual school hours, and specifically school hours that you're going to protect. So you may take something from like 9 to 2 to get your schoolwork done, and you may not be able to realistically block off that entire chunk to protect. But what we would do is we would block off from like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning until noon, and we would really protect that time when it came to activities. So if an activity fell in that range, I would try to stay away from it and just say, hey, this is not the season for that, I can't do that. However, if you'd love to have Johnny come over for our play date around 1 or 2 o'clock, that would be great. I try to do this with doctor's appointments too, scheduling after that 12 o'clock time period, but that's not always possible. I do have kids with medical special needs, and so there are many specialists that we can't get into unless we work with their schedule. So yes, there are going to be times that it needs to be flexible and we need to adjust this schedule and adjust these parameters. But for many activities and typical commitments and even regularly scheduled doctor's appointments, you can start to set those boundaries and protect your homeschooling hours so that you can have minimal distractions. The second way that you can combat this major distraction is by setting aside 1 day a week that you have designated as your day to be out, to do things and activities. So maybe on that day, you're going to join a co-op for that day, or you're going to schedule your appointments. For us, for many years, this has been Friday. We have set aside that day to allow outside distractions in, because again, a lot of those distractions can be good things. But if you're a little distracted here and you have a doctor's appointment on Monday, and then you have a women's Bible study you've joined on Wednesday, and then on Thursday you have co-op, and on Friday you have whatever else going on, you can see quickly how it can unravel your entire school year. So we like to set aside 1 day for those major distractions. Again, flexibility always, knowing that things are going to come out outside of that day, but really trying to stick to that as much as possible. So now let's look at the next distraction that comes from outside your home. The second distraction that frequently comes from outside of your home is your phone. Or at least in my house, that's what it is. Whether it's having phone calls or you being distracted by being on your phone, I have found this to be probably the #1 distraction in my home. And here's a few tips on how to handle that distraction. The first is to, again, protect those school hours. So set down that phone, mama. I know it's hard. This is super hard for me. I'm honestly working on this a lot right now because it is hard. It's so tempting to want to just jump on social media real fast or to answer that phone call because it could be important. Those kinds of things can be really tricky, and it's easy to allow all of those exceptions to the rule to, again, take over your day. So try to protect that time. I try to not be on my phone at all during school hours, but I protect, again, that kind of base time that until noon, I'm really careful to try to be off of my phone when we are in session for school. Now, what about those actual important phone calls? Or what if you were to receive a text or there was an emergency or things like that? So one way that you could deal with that potential is getting a Fitbit or a smartwatch, something like that, that allows you to be notified when your phone is ringing or when you get in a text, so you can make sure it's not super critical. But honestly, I found that oftentimes that was my kind of excuse for having my phone on me and realizing that in a typical week, how many times does that kind of thing happen? I'm not saying that everybody out there should just set aside their phone, that there's absolutely never going to be a reason for that. Maybe you're in a particular life circumstance where that is really needed, that you have it on you, but try to reduce the amount of times you pick it up each and every day. Even ask your kids to help you to be accountable when it comes to staying off your phone during school hours. Another way that I have found it helpful to stay off of screens, so to speak, during school hours is to make sure that I have tasks that I can do when my kids don't need me. We're entering into a new phase in homeschooling where I have more independent learners, and typically I am always needed. Typically I still have little kids who are like, Mom, can you help me with this? Mom, can you read me this book? Can you do that? But there are times of downtime in our homeschool, and that's a totally new season for me. And so I tend to find that those are the times that I tend to gravitate towards my phone, and I'll just scroll a little social media. I'll just look at a few shorts or a few reels, and it's just a rabbit hole. I get distracted, and then by default, when mom's distracted, kids are gonna walk off and be distracted. So I recommend having a specific list of items you're allowed to do during your school blocked off time and items you are not allowed to do. So for example, I can go switch loads of laundry at any point during the school hour. I can maybe work in my kitchen if I need to do something. I can sit down and read a book myself so my kids are actually seeing me reading, things like that. Again, my blocks of time are only maybe 5 or 10 minutes here or there, but having some designated do's and don'ts can really help you to reduce those distractions. So next up, let's talk about distractions that happen inside your home. A lot of times this can come from having more than one child. And so you have different kids being loud, maybe playing while another sibling's doing something, or just asking questions, multiple kids on their books, workbooks, or on their computers working on school, and it can create a lot of outside background noise. So what can you do about that? Well, my number one tip for that is headphones. Headphones can make a perfect addition to your homeschool day. Let me explain. You can get noise canceling headphones very inexpensively at Walmart or other stores like that, but you can also get just regular headphones that your child can plug in and use. We have found this to be hugely helpful as we have many children who have some sensory issues, especially when it comes to auditory things. And so having your child, if they are struggling with getting distracted by things that are going on around them, having them be able to put on some noise canceling headphones and really zone into the work that needs to be done, or when they're doing things like teaching textbooks or other computer-based programs, we love to have them use regular headphones, just plug it into their device and be able to just be very much in the moment. Also, when your child is working on devices, having the headphones plugged in will allow them to not distract others by what their computer is playing out loud. Just a note on that, Mom, though, make sure that when your child is on devices, especially if they are using headphones, that they are still in public areas where there is accountability as to what they're doing, to make sure that they're maybe not watching YouTube videos or other things like that. Another common distraction that can come from inside your home with having multiple kids there is having kids that are constantly pulling you in different directions, right? Very rarely can we multitask well. It's better to really focus in on one subject, one project, one task, do it well, and then move on than it is to be pulled in a lot of different directions. But that's so much easier said than done when it comes to homeschooling multiple kids. So what we like to do is we like to pick one subject per kid that mom is going to make sure that I protect that time. And going back to the same concept with our school time. Our school hours may take longer, but we have protected time. Same thing here with this. For each child, I pick one subject to have protected time with. In the past, that's typically been reading. Because reading is such a serious struggle in our home, we have several kids with dyslexia, there's just a lot there, and it's such an important skill for all of education that we try to protect that reading time. So mom is gonna be one-on-one with each child for 20 minutes a day working on reading. That being said, it doesn't mean I don't work one-on-one with them at other points, but those are times where I allow other distractions to come in. During this reading time, it is set aside time, and the other kids have things that they should be doing during that time. One of the things we found helpful with this is using a visual timer. This visual timer you can pull out to have go at 20 minutes, and your child will be able to see as it gets closer and closer to the end. I'm actually going to be doing an entire video about how to use visual timers in your homeschool, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on that because it's coming out here really, really soon. But being able to have a visual timer will help your other kids to see that mom is unavailable until this timer ends. So I put this on our coffee table while I'm working with that child one-on-one. It protects their time. As your children start enjoying that one-on-one time that they get to work with mom, they'll start to respect their siblings' one-on-one time as well. But just like I was talking about with reducing the amount of device use that you have on your phone and having those lists of things you can and cannot do when you are in those school hours, it's a good idea to do the same for your child. So if you are having that one-on-one time with your child working on that subject that you have set aside to do that with them, you want to have parameters of what your other children can do. If they do get stuck on their independent work, what is something else they can go to complete tasks that will keep them from getting distracted and just walking off? So maybe you want to let them go play outside and just run off some energy if they need you during that time. But maybe you want to keep them a little bit more book focused. So maybe there's always some copy work available, or you have specific activities that you want them to do during that time, a little bit of reading, working on flashcards, anything like that. Having that list kind of set aside for your child to know, like, hey, if mom's unavailable because she's working with your sibling, here are tasks that you are allowed to do. Feel free to pick from them. Val over at the Practically Speaking Mom always talks a lot about having baskets, like math baskets or literacy baskets that have activities in them that are educational that their children can work through. And so having something like that set aside for your child to be able to dig into if they need you but you're not available right then can be really helpful. You can also factor in visual distractions. Pretty homeschool rooms with lots of colorful posters and visual enticing things can be amazing, but for some kids it can be a huge distraction. So maybe you need to factor in being a little more minimalistic in maybe some of the decor that you have going on in the room if you're finding a child who's constantly distracted by visual things. You can also use divider walls together and taping together like file folders that you can use to make a divider, or you can purchase school dividers or even use some of those big project boards from Walmart. You can use those to help kind of create a safe space where your child can be visually focused on what they're doing. It's important to remember that while we do want to reduce the amount of unnecessary distractions in our homeschool day, we don't need to fight the distractions or begrudge them. We can actually appreciate them. This helps our kids to learn how to work in an environment that is less than ideal at times. This will serve them well in the future, whether it's studying for a test when a roommate's being loud, whether it's working in an atmosphere that is really busy, hustle and bustle, but needing to get their job done. These things can be so incredibly critical. There are very few times in our life that we will have ideal circumstances to get our work done. So teaching our kids how to deal with distractions, teaching them those coping skills to help reduce the distractions and to embrace them when they come can be absolutely helpful. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Be sure to check out the playlist down below, as all these other moms are sharing their best kept homeschool secrets for all different areas of life. And you are not going to want to miss it. Talk to you next time. Bye.